everyone. We are your hosts, Ob and Court, and welcome to the EnvironMental podcast with Dandelion.
This is our podcast where we talk about all things sustainability. And today we are welcoming Westen McIntosh, who is one of the founders of Virtue Impact, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Westen. Can you tell us a little bit about you, how you got started with Virtue, and all the good stuff?
Sure, I'd love to. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you.
So a quick sort of background on Virtue. We're a social impact / environmental tool for e-commerce brands. Our goal is just to make giving easy, whether you're selling a product and giving proceeds to an environmental charity or a local charity, or mostly just charities is what people choose to support. A lot of for good businesses, but we're just trying to make it easy for people to give back. It's never been more important, I think, to have a strong brand and have a strong sort of reason for people to buy from you. There's so much competition online and there's so much waste associated with sort of e-commerce and fast fashion. And there's a lot of great steps that businesses can take, but it's a bit overwhelming, especially when you go to the SMB or sort of people who are just starting off. They don't know where to begin. They don't know how to offset. They don't know how to sort of calculate their carbon footprint, or they don't really know much of anything. They just know they want to sell t-shirts possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing is we're stepping in here to make it really easy to do something good, whatever that is. And and that's what I'm on the podcast now, is to talk to you a little bit about that.
Incredible. So you have a network of kind of nonprofit organizations that you already sort of work with, or that the businesses can choose from, or can they choose any?
You can choose any. So we've got an existing database of about 40,000 different organizations you can support. Most of which are charities. Once again, we have a lot of just for good businesses. So we have a lot of sort of organizations like planting trees or cleaning up oceans or planting coral reef, whatever that could be. So they're not necessarily charities, but they're still doing some good work. So typically a business will sign up to support a charity. They'll search our database and then select one of the 40,000 or multiple of the 40,000. And then if there's something in particular they want, maybe a local charity, or maybe not even a charity, just like a fundraiser or something they want to support, they can bring their own. So you can really support anybody else.
Very cool. And this allows the business owners to, I guess it's like with every purchase to donate is it a portion of that order total, or is the business able to kind of choose any amount that they want to donate per
Any
purchase?
amount you want to donate. So a lot of businesses have existing partnerships, and maybe it's something as small as just letting your customers donate at checkout, which is obviously something we're all very familiar with, but it's a great way to support. A lot of people are happy to add a dollar or two, or $10 sometimes at checkout, just to support a charity they've never heard of before. Most businesses will give themselves. As a business, we think that's pretty important. If you're going to be aligning yourself with a mission or a cause, it's important to kind of put your money where your mouth is and actually do it yourself, we think. Although, some people can only start with customer donations. Maybe they don't have the margins or don't have the ability. But most people will give kind of 1%. That's the standard. People they give $1 per order or 1%. Some will have items that are dedicated to different charities where they give more. Anything you want to do, you can really do.
That's cool. So it's very, very flexible. It sounds like it's just like.
Yeah, so to build, I don't know if you know much about the charity space, but if you want to partner with a charity, depending on the geography you're in, whether in the UK or the US, Canada, anywhere in the world, really, there's a lot of rules and there's a lot of red tape. And then charities are notoriously understaffed. And there's a lot of rules saying, if I'm giving my money to this charity, I want 100% of this money to go towards impact. I don't want to pay for admin or marketing, which is a bit of a tough pill to swallow, because if 100% of the money is going to planting trees or helping refugees, whatever it is, that's money not being spent on further fundraising, on admin to manage donations or to make sure the money's even going to the right place. So what you end up seeing is a lot of charities have a strong support base of thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of people who maybe have Shopify stores or small WooCommerce stores who want to support. But when they go to these charities, the charity has to push them aside, because to build up a partnership and to sort of onboard them and figure out the payments, it takes time, and time is one of their most precious resources. So we come in, and what took 6 weeks to set up now takes 6 minutes. So you just click a few buttons, pick how much you want to give, and then the money automatically goes to the charity.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I think There's a lot here and it's pretty obvious, but if you had to choose one thing, what is the role that virtue plays in this transition to a more sustainable future for everyone?
Well, I think a big thing, there's two different ends to sustainability in terms of what you talk about. There's either doing it better or starting to do it. So my background is in ESG, working for oil companies actually back in Canada. So I got a role sort of in the environmental advisor role. So this is, you've got this massive list of thousands of sort of rules and laws you have to comply with. So it's going through different projects and making sure everything's compliant, which is good, but at the same time, you're still working at the oil company. So how much good are you doing if you're still promoting the massive industry? But you can talk about that later, or you can ask about that, in a bit if you want. Um, a lot of businesses spend a lot of time talking about impact and not actually making it. So they'll
Mhm.
plant 1,000 trees, which is great, which could cost them $1,000 or could cost them, depending on where they're planting them. And then they'll spend $10,000 talking about it and running a marketing
Yeah.
campaign, whatever that looks like. When I moved to the UK, I was a big fan of Brewdog. There was a beer, they had great messaging, they were doing some cool stuff, FuCO2, that type of thing. So I was, their beer was decent enough, so I was drinking it. It was great. And then you kind of read into their initiatives and sort of you see the impact that's being made, and some of the marketing is a bit misleading. And you're like, okay, you say you're doing this, but the impact isn't necessarily there.
Mhm.
And I think they've sort of, gotten a little backlash from that and have learned from it, and I think are now sort of doing a lot in the right direction. But where we come in is we let you spend less time, managing your admin or talking about it, and spend more money actually doing the impact. So we just make the giving more efficient, whether you're, offsetting plastic or planting trees, whatever that is, which is great. But I think the more important thing is we're that first step on the ladder towards sustainability. So sustainability is very overwhelming for a lot of people. They don't know really what it is. They know carbon, but nobody knows what a ton of carbon is, or a kilogram of carbon. Like, how do you even conceptualize what that is, right? You see the
Yeah.
balloons and it's the size of the Empire State Building. Like, no one knows what it is, but you do know I can, sell an item and maybe plant a tree. Very basic, very
Mhm.
simple, but businesses get it and customers get it. Or I'm gonna, sell an item and I want to make sure with every item I sell, I clean up 1 kilogram or 1 pound of plastic from the ocean. So it's a nice, easy way to start making that good thing. And the more you do and the more you learn, the more you can then do sort of in that next step.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think one thing I liked in particular about your approach, I think, is just how it offers business owners kind of a specific way in which they can give. Like they can choose a nonprofit partner
Yeah.
that really resonates with like their own values and their as a brand. And that's something that we find to be so incredibly powerful, is that when brands have that really clear, point of view and perspective, and their values really laid out, and to be able to kind of strengthen that with choosing a nonprofit partner, like, I think that's so powerful. That's
Yeah.
fantastic that you kind of make that situation just a lot more simple for all parties involved.
It
Mhm.
definitely, I think it's very important. I mean, obviously, the most important thing is authentic. Like our name Virtue is a bit of like a weird name because it closely aligns with virtue signaling, which could be a bad thing and definitely is a bad thing depending on, if you're doing it, if you're Brewdog circa 2020 or whatever it was. But it's sort of the way you do it. If you're transparent, that's sort of the most important thing, sort of
Yeah.
with why you're supporting who you're supporting. That's what the big takeaway is. Like a lot of people sign up to us and you have a call with them and they, they want to start planting trees, but they're a bit embarrassed that they're just planting trees in 2023. And they're like, I've never planted trees. And my customers are going to think so little of me. And I'm like, no one cares. Like no one cares where you are. It's sort of where you're headed. Like it's like this, good motto of like, it's where you're going. So we think transparency is the most important thing, but you can't just start with what you want. There's a lot of people who come onto Virtue and they'll support their personal charity, which is great for them, obviously. But when you're doing it as a business, it's a lot of great visibility and it's a great way to fundraise. But there's an added bonus when you're supporting a charity. There's a big benefit to your brand. So if you talk
Mhm.
about it in a very clear and concise and legal way, you can actually see an increase in conversion rates, average order value, customer lifetime
Yeah.
value. Basically, everything goes up. But it goes up more if it makes sense and if your customers care about it. So if
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
customer, every customer has got certain things they believe in, like, say maybe they care about the environment or they care about trans rights or they care about, could be anything
Mhm.
really. Um, But, if I'm a person and I want the environment to be the most important thing, I expect the companies I buy from to also care about those values.
Yep.
But I don't just care about carbon. I care about, I want a gig company who's environmentally friendly and helps, people read on the weekend. Like, this is what people are now expecting of businesses, which is very, very difficult. So this is what we're trying to do, is let everybody not just check off boxes as part of a checkbox exercise, but give them the ability to start making the steps. Even if you're not, say, fundraising directly, you can still support charities through volunteering or even just talking about them.
Hmm.
But we think it's important to balance your own personal values with what your customers want to see as well, because that's the biggest win-win-win across the board.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, I think we have that conversation a lot from the branding side of things. We often talk about that. Like, yeah, it's really good that you're feeling this way, that you have these values, but you're building a business and your business values are important for your customers. So we have those conversations a lot when we're building branding. But I also appreciate Virtue because it's hard for brands to find value partners often, or they find one and then, like you're saying, it takes 6 weeks, and then for 6 weeks there's nothing going on the website, and then you have to build something, and then you just kind of like claim somewhere, hey, for every order that we get, we give $3 to
Yeah.
our value partner.
Mhm.
And then it's like, question mark, is that actually happening? Customers are really starting to question whether that's happening. And Weston did a demo for me when we were talking about coming on this, and you can tell, like, it's got a whole drop down. Virtue integrates with most carts, and it's easy for a customer to see that it's actually a real benefit, and it's actually really happening from the brand. So I appreciate that, because yeah, it's much more clear and feels honest. It feels like better than just being like, we're donating, you know.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's it's a big concern we get from a lot of charities. We speak to charities about their partnerships, and there's always like fine print about they're going to give us, $1 per order, maxing out at $1,000. And charities just have to kind of grin and bear it because they're always need money to do whatever good
Yeah.
cause they're doing. So they have some ability to dictate, but they also don't. If a large corporate comes in and wants to give them, 10 grand or 20 grand, whatever it is, um, it's hard for them to say no because that money is going towards saving lives or giving people, shelter or, cleaning up an ocean or whatever that could be. So, well, thank you. That's a compliment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's true.
Yeah. Well,
It is. No, I think that the system sort of acts as sort of like I don't know, a safeguard against looking like you're greenwashing potentially unintentionally, which we see often, right? When
Yeah.
folks just make a statement on their website, we promise that we will donate this, that you have no
Hmm.
proof that that was ever actually done. I think this just adds a lot more kind of legitimacy, I suppose, to the donation
Yeah.
process.
yeah,
That,
we see a lot of businesses sign up to support. I think tree planting was one of the easiest kind of wins, especially a couple of years ago for people, just because that people get it.
yeah.
And then when you sort of click on like our widgets on a site, you can sort of learn more and sort of see how much they're giving or go into a bit more detail. So some stores would sign
Hmm.
up and they would donate like, 2 cents per order, which is not going to do a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and then when customers go on their site, like you can't hide it. You see, yes, they're only donating 2 cents. So it actually hurts them more than anything else because you see how little they're giving.
Yeah.
And those stores never stick around. We assumed there would be a lot of greenwashing and virtue signaling when we first started, just businesses that are trying to look good. What's the least amount I can give?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's not the case. Like when we talk about sort of the e-commerce metrics you get from running a giving campaign, everyone's pleasantly surprised that, oh, I never even thought about, using this as like a marketing tool. Like most people just want to support and give back because it's important to them.
Yeah.
And obviously, so they start using us for a campaign, but they stay using us because it benefits their business and they get to give more money to charity. And it's kind of that, virtuous cycle over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that the 2 cent companies don't stick around. They probably, their customers go, the hell is this, man? I You said I was supporting this, I'm supporting a brand, and I'm not, unless it's 2 cents on the dollar, that's a big deal, and that's marketed wrong then. But
Yeah, and it's not. It's 2 cents on an order for like $300, and like they're just putting
no.
minimum. And I mean, you can tell if it smells, fishy, it's probably fishy, right? Like that's kind of how this thing
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Um, But we definitely
Yeah,
seen a large kind of growth of people just being, being genuine and wanting to give. And we're starting to see a lot of other people that are coming in just organically by seeing us on other stores. Because
cool.
they see a small business supporting a charity. They're like, oh, they have a charity partnership. This looks so cool. Let me check it out. And it's a nice way to just kind of get people on that giving ladder to obviously give back and do something good.
Yeah, that's very cool. I have a question about something you mentioned before, and it's kind of a little bit off of this topic, but not exactly, because you mentioned that a lot of charities, a lot of people that support charities only want to support the work that the charity is doing rather than the admin stuff and the marketing stuff. Um, I mean, we see both sides because we do marketing for charity and we know how much that brings in. Like, it's hard, so it's hard to make that balance. So is virtue really focused on the impact of a charity, or like does that only go towards charity impact, or does it also go to, is it, undesignated funds when they connect with them?
There's there's both for sure. So it really depends on the cause. One thing charities are notoriously bad at is sort of showing exactly where the money goes to. And this is what happens when you don't have the proper admin or infrastructure in place. Like it's hard to track where every dollar
Yeah.
goes if you're just focused on throwing money at trees. You can't sort of see where they're being planted or whatever else this looks like. But it's also a large part of the work. When Russia invaded Ukraine for the nth time, there was a lot of charities that were supporting Ukraine. One of which was British Ukrainian Aid. They're kind of based in the UK. We got to know them pretty well. And we were sort of on bringing them on board and asking where the money goes. They were like, it depends on the day. Like some money goes towards, like buying ambulances from Poland to bring them over. Some money is going
Mhm.
towards getting food for kids or clothing. And it's like, it's kind of a day by day. But I think you have to know what charity you're supporting and you have to sort of trust the charity as well.
Mhm.
Um, certain charities are going to be spending a bit more on um, say maybe marketing, like take like a Save the Children or the Red Cross, like, strongly branded charities. But there's you can reasonably expect that the money's actually going to where they're saying it's going.
Mhm.
Sometimes with very small charities, there's a big case in the UK of this guy named Major Tom who raised a ton of money. And passed, I think it was for veterans, and he passed away, and his daughter took over the charity. And she's been in the news a lot recently because it seems like, there's been pools installed and a whole bunch of things. Um,
Mm. Mhm.
maybe it's for social swimming or whatever. I don't know exactly what it's for, but that's kind of it is what it is. Some charities are very clear. You give us $1, we'll make sure that one tree is planted, or make sure that 500 leaflets are sent out to kids about HIV, whatever it could be, and those are usually pretty good. And you can tell from a website if they say $5 can make this impact. Um, it's a good sign that they're at least taking this into consideration.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, because $5 can make X amount of impact doesn't mean that they aren't having good admin and like getting and
Of
still
course.
communicating with people. Also, that's
Of course.
better.
And yeah, and once again with that admin, once you have it in place, it just sort of makes you more efficient. Like if you're throwing money at just solving the problem, that's great. But once you have the admin in place, you can become more efficient. So it's sort of,
Yes.
you guys know.
We do. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I asked that question, because you talk with charities all the time and you help them deal with this a lot. And it's a big topic, right? You want to be very transparent. Like you're saying, transparency is your number one thing. But it's challenging to be transparent and then get slack for it, but really what you're doing is going, I'm getting organized, I'm making sure more people know about this, that and that we can have a huge impact, or we can grow our impact over time, rather than just, like you're saying, throw money towards the problem and then not have tracking and not have data. Because
Yeah, and this is where I think private sector comes into support third sector. So if you really care about, say, planting trees or cleaning up the oceans, for example, if you have a charity that's running it and they're not spending a ton of money on sort of the admin and marketing, they're only going to do so much. But if you
yeah.
have a business that's coming in who wants to make money off it, they're going to find a way to become more efficient through it. If they don't become more efficient, they're not going to survive. So they sort of have to. So what we see is a lot of we've got a breakdown between charities and impact partners. So we work with some charities and the money is going to a charity. Others, we have impact partners where we say, if you give us, $1 or $2, we're going to have XYZ impact.
Mm.
And then for plastic offsetting, for example, there's a number of different companies we work with that offset plastic around the world. And what we typically see is that oftentimes some businesses are just more impactful, like your money goes further than supporting a charity. So when you weigh in the benefits of sort of tax deductions and how much impact's being made, and you know, there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that can, but businesses are, oftentimes more effective at sort of making an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They care about the efficiency of the process. They create
Mm.
process.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. Wow. Okay. So,
So
do
oh,
yeah.
go on, sorry.
Oh, no. I mean, this might be a larger question, but I'm just sort of curious, like, how do these partners, these either nonprofits or impact partners, like, how do they get on your list, I suppose? Like,
If you just message me on my personal phone number, then you can probably yeah, sorry, no. So obviously we have our website. If you go to, if you search Virtue, will come up, or Virtue Impact will come up for sure. Anybody can sign up for us. We have a lot of organizations that'll sign up. So the
okay,
40,000 we typically get through funds. We work with a lot of funds and tech partners like PayPal, where
got
they
it.
will have an amalgamation of, tens of thousands of charities in different geographies that we just tie into. So PayPal is our partner to support them.
Got it.
But for businesses who want to sign up, there's a form on the website. If you're a good cause or a charity and you'd like to use us as a fundraising tool, we're right there.
Cool. Okay. So there's just a little application process, but then your team kind of looks that over and gets everything set up. That's
Yes, that's right.
cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that leads us to our last question, which is how can people find you and how can people sign up? What's that link?
Sure, of course. So virtueimpact.com is our homepage. That's the easiest way for people to get a hold of us. If you go into, a Shopify app store, Magento, whatever that may be, and search charity, we're typically the first thing that comes up across the world. So you'll see us there, which is obviously a great place to get in touch. Yeah, those work the best. Social media, it's all pretty easy. Everything's Virtue Impact.
Perfect.
Nice. That's really cool. It's cool that you're the first one that comes up on Shopify. That's kind of a big deal.
That is a big
Yeah, well, we weren't for years, but we get a lot of good reviews. Like we've got, I mean, one of the biggest things, especially when you're starting off as a smaller company or smaller business, is your product's not going to be as good as the bigger players. Your prices might not be as good, whatever it is, but you have to win people over with customer service is one of the biggest things.
Mhm.
And obviously, you know this, or if anybody has an e-commerce store, customer service is what gets you good reviews and what gets you loyal customers. So we started early. We started as a Shopify app with questionable design and 6 charities and kind of not much going on. And then from there, we've been building and growing and sort of grinding to bring on all these charities. And now we're a tool that people are really happy to use and really, really prefer to use over the competition.
Wow, that's really, really cool, man.
well done.
Congratulations. Nice
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, well, it's a team effort. I'm only one small piece of it.
Well, congratulations and nice work to the whole Virtue Impact team. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no
And
problem. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, it was great to chat. Very excited to see the future of Virtue. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody. And we
yeah,
will see you
thank you.
next
See you
time.
next time.
Bye.